Namaste and hello. Welcome to the Art of Yoga project. My name is Lynn. Thank you for taking your time to practice with me. The theme for today's class is taking aim at your future. So we're going to work through poses today that will lead us to a pose called bow pose or Dhanurasana. So let's begin. If you'd like to come to a standing position on your mat, we'll do a warm up. So finding goddess pose with your legs. So what that means is you're going to turn your toes out and your heels inward, and then take your feet kind of wide apart so that you can come into a squatting position. So then with our breath, we're going to inhale and reach the arms up. Bring the palms of the hands together, so you inhale through your nose, and then exhale as you bend your knees out to the side. Bring your hands to your heart center. So we'll inhale again, reaching up through the nose, and this time exhale, making a sound like shh. Take your hands in front of you, cross your arms, and inhale as you reach them up, straightening the knees. And then exhale, shh. Change the crisscross of your arms. So notice which arm is on top. Inhale through your nose, straighten your knees, reach up, and exhale, shh. So try this with me. It's a lot to think about, so don't worry if it's not perfect. We're just practicing breathing. So you're inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and the sound sort of sounds like a rain stick or a waterfall. So we'll call this waterfall breath or rain stick breath. So when you're ready, join me. Inhale through the nose, reaching up, straightening the knees, palms together. If you'd like to look up at your hands, you can, if that is okay on your neck. And then exhale, shh. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. 3 more times. Now heel-toe your feet back together, and we're going to come to a seated position on the mat, and this pose is called Hero's Pose or Virasana. So if it's uncomfortable for you to sit on your knees like this, then you can take a block. If your legs are tight, you might take a block if you have a yoga block and place it in between the ankles, all right, in between the feet, and you can sit on it like this. Okay, so see how that feels. If you don't have a block, you can come to a different seated position, but this is just going to help you stretch your quadriceps, the fronts of your thighs. So sitting back and bringing the hands on top of the thighs and noticing the sensations in the legs. If it hurts your knees, then come up. You can either practice just kneeling like this or changing to a crisscross position if you don't have a block. But try using blocks, even 2 blocks if you have them, and making a little sort of a stool for yourself. Okay, so knees can come together and the heels, the ankles might be right next to your hips. Palms can come down on the legs, sit up tall, draw your chin down slightly, and breathe. Notice the breath in the lungs, the ribs expanding, the heart center, and maybe feeling the breath in the back of the body as well. Good, take 2 more breaths here. then release. So if that was uncomfortable for you, come into a cross-legged position, and we'll just check in for a moment. So if you have your journal, you could grab your journal. If you don't, just think about the question for check-in. And if you have a piece of paper or pen, you could write something down. Otherwise, just thinking about it. Take a moment to pause and think. So just noticing how you're feeling today. How's your body? How's your mind? And then as a question, if you wanted to write this in your journal, you could write, when I think about taking responsibility for my future, I feel. So if you have a pen, I'll read it again slowly so you can write it down. When I think about taking responsibility for my future, I feel. So take a few breaths here. And if you can't think of what to write now, at least you have the start of the sentence and you can always finish it later. So coming back to your mat, onto your mat, we'll move into, it's called Cobra Pose, Bhujangasana. So you're going to come onto your stomach now and bring your hands beside you so that the elbows are right over the wrists. And you don't want the hands too far forward. Walk them back so your hands are your thumbs are right under the bottom of your rib cage. And you can rest your head on the floor. Pick up one leg and pick up the other. Make them longer. Imagine the toes are reaching for the back of the room. And then just inhale, lifting your ribs off the floor. Keep your chin down, shoulders back. Try not to hunch. Squeezing the elbows in and breathing here. So feeling the back of the body engage. You can press your feet onto the floor and straighten your knees. Good. Take one more breath here. Imagine the sternum is pulling forward. And then come back down for a moment. Make a pillow with your hands and turn your head to the side. Bend the knees. You can flex your feet, spread your toes, and rock them side to side. Good. Coming back to center again. Bringing the hands back under the ribs. One more time, just lifting up. And imagine you're pulling your belly button up, even though the tummy is still on the floor. Can you lift the belly in a little? And breathe. Keep your chin down. You could look forward towards the edge of your mat, but try not to look at the ceiling. That's a bit too much on the neck. Good. One more breath here. Maybe press the hands into the floor and see how that feels on your body. And then exhale, come back down. Make the same pillow. Turn your cheek the opposite way. Rest your head. Bend your knees and rock them side to side. And just breathe. Coming back to center again. And this time with your arms straight so that the pinky fingers are next to the legs and the thumbs are pointing away from your legs. We're going to lift up, lift the chest, lift the hands, walk your fingers back towards your feet like little spider fingers, and then start to lift your legs as well, your feet. Straighten your knees. You can either point your toes or you can spread your toes. And breathe. 2 more breaths like this. And then release. Come back down. We're going to press back to child's pose now. So if you want, you could have your knees together. We open the knees to stretch the hips, but with the knees together, it might feel a nice stretch on the lower back. So coming with the knees together, if your forehead doesn't quite reach the floor, you could use a block to rest your forehead. Press your hands into the floor and just watch the breath. You might feel your abdomen moving against the thighs. Let the air come in and fill the lungs completely. Relax the shoulders. And we'll come back to all fours now. So your hands are under your shoulders and your knees are under your hips. And we'll just take a moment to lift your left knee off the floor, flex your foot, and breathe. Good. One more breath like that, and then release and lift the right knee up. Flex your foot and breathe. Push the floor away with your hands. Keep your center, right? Draw the navel in, belly button's drawing in, and you're breathing. Good. And we'll take a little bit of cat-cow just to think about bringing your sternum forward between your hands. So think of the upper body more than the lower body. Inhale as you send your sternum forward. And exhale as you round your shoulders. Press the floor away with your hands. Spread the shoulder blades on the back. Good. One more. Inhale forward. And exhale back. Rounding, stretching the upper back. Good. So this time we'll balance a little bit. So you're going to lift your left knee, flex your foot, and maybe take your right hand behind you and reach for the foot. And lift your chest and look forward. You can press your foot into your hand if that feels like a nice stretch for you. If this is too much, just keep your hands on the floor and think of lifting that back thigh up. One more breath wherever you're at, and then release. We'll switch sides. So lifting the right knee, breathing, draw the belly button in, and reach back with the left hand. Maybe it catches the foot, maybe you have to sort of find it back there without looking back. Look forward, breathe, lift the heart, press the foot into the hand or the ankle. Keep lifting the right thigh up and back. One more breath, and then release. Come back to child's pose. If you want to stretch your hips, open your knees. If you want to stretch the lower back, keep the knees together. Notice how your body's feeling. Listen to your breath. Listen to the exhale. Good. Inhale as you come back up. Okay, and then we'll take another stretch that's like Virasana, except this time one knee is bent and the other one is straight. So if you were able to sit like this, with the ankles out to the sides on the floor, then that's great. If you still need to use the block, then put a block or two blocks even underneath of you. Some of you might need two blocks if your knees are sensitive. All right? So wherever you're at, just staying there, and then maybe starting to straighten one leg. So if you're on two blocks, it might look like this. Okay, if you can lower and take one block out, you bend your right knee, lift up, take a block out. See how that feels. Flex your foot, spread your toes. And then maybe some of you that can get your bottom on the floor, go all the way down, and you're here. And then once you're here, you might think about resting back onto your forearms, noticing the stretching and the sensations in this thigh. So the thigh wants to roll downward. See if you can roll your thigh out. Press that whole shin. This whole shin bone is pressing into the floor. Top of the foot is down. Good. Some of you could go all the way back and take a nap. One more breath here. And then come back up. We'll switch sides, so come back up carefully and switch knees. So if you have large calf muscles, move your calf muscle out to the side as you start to sit back. And put blocks under. Some of you started on blocks, put the blocks back under. Both of our sides might be different. So one side might be really easy and the other side might be really tight. So watch the breath, maybe lowering if you can, not forcing this though. Okay, a couple more breaths. Some of you can go ahead and come back onto your forearms. Some of you might rest back on the floor. Okay, listen to the body. Full breath. Good, and then start to come back up. And then we're going to come back onto the floor, onto our stomachs again. So make your way onto your stomach, and then you can bend one knee and reach. I'm doing my left knee. If you want to be the same, bend the left knee and reach and bring the heel of your foot towards your buttocks. See how that feels on the hamstrings, on the quads. And then some of you might be able to come up like we were in, well, actually into Sphinx pose with the elbows under the shoulders. If this feels okay, you can start to reach back just to stretch the quads again. Breathe, lift and lengthen. You might even think of pressing your foot back to straighten the arm and lift the chest. You might be bending the elbow to bring the foot in. So it's sort of pushing and pulling different directions. Good, switching sides. So you might start down here and just check in, bend the right knee, grab the right foot, breathe, right? Deep breaths. Good, then maybe coming up into your Sphinx pose with the elbows under the shoulders. Try not to have them too far back, move them forward, spread your fingers, and then bending and reaching back with the right foot if it feels okay. If not, just practice Sphinx pose. Imagine that you're pulling the mat back with your hands, shoulders down. We don't want the shoulders to creep up around the neck. Keep the shoulders moving back. Breathe. And then release. So I think we're pretty warmed up to try bow pose. So if you want to try bow pose, you can place the forehead back down, bend the knees, reach with both hands so your thumbs are pointing at the floor. Reach for the ankles or the tops of the feet. Get a good grip, and then start to lift your chest and your head. Keep your chin drawing down and press your feet into your hands. Lift your thighs up and look forward and breathe. Okay, you might even imagine your arms are like the strings on a bow, right? And that there's an arrow coming out of the center of your forehead, aiming you in the direction that you want to go. Take 2 more breaths, press the feet into the hands, draw the shoulders down, lift the knees, and then release. Make that pillow with your hands, turn your head to either side, bend the knees, and rock the feet side to side. Notice how your body feels in this pose. Notice the effects of the pose. And then we'll come back onto our backs. So you can roll over onto your back for a moment. And then just taking the feet mat distance apart and letting the knees rock together. And bringing your right hand to your lower belly, your left hand to your heart. Move the shoulders away from the ears. Let the elbows come out to the sides. And just take a few breaths here, noticing again how you feel. Thinking of what you would like to be responsible for in your future. What would you like to aim for? In yoga, sometimes we aim for achieving certain poses. We want to work hard to achieve a certain shape in the body. When we're off of our mat, we have other goals, other things that we strive for and we practice. And we have to really take time out of our life to think about these things and set these goals for ourselves. So just take a moment to visualize what you're aiming for your future. And later you can write about it. And we'll straighten the legs. And then bend the right knee, flex the foot, draw the thigh in. And then take the knee across the body. The right arm can come out to the side, palm of the hand facing down. Just a little twist. You can inhale, come back up. Switch legs. Draw the left thigh in. Relax your shoulders. Take one more breath like this. Then cross the knee over the body. Reaching the left arm out to the side, palm facing downward. Press the floor with your hand lightly. One more breath like this. And then inhale as you come back to center, straightening both legs for Shavasana. So if it's uncomfortable to have your legs straight, you can always bend the knees. You can always come to seated and meditate for the end of the practice as well, or continue in your journal. But if you'd like Shavasana, just go ahead and let the feet flop out to the sides. Let the hands come out to the sides with the palms of the hands facing up. Make sure your shoulders are away from the ears. And just let your fingers curl. Make sure you draw the chin down slightly so it's not shortening the back of the neck. You want length in the back of the neck. And either just gazing at a point softly downwards towards your heart or closing the eyes. Take a few moments here. I'm going to come to seated so I can read you a story. So please stay however you feel most comfortable, breathing and listening to your body, listening to this story. So in Indian mythology, there was a famous story in which Arjuna goes to battle. Arjuna was a warrior, and he was a master archer who lived in India in ancient times. So in this famous battle, the story goes that he was reclaiming a kingdom that was unjustly stolen from him and his brothers. And as he prepares to charge, he hesitates and lets his bow slip from his hands. Krishna, Arjuna's mentor, coaches him and says to pick back up his bow. Arjuna must find a way to take responsibility for his life and the lives of his community members. He must find a way to learn from the obstacles and rather than let them paralyze him. So as we practiced bow pose today, I hope that you'll try it again another day and create that same opportunity for you to practice the pose in your body, but also to find your own heart center, practicing fearlessness and not giving in to difficulties. So if you're in Shavasana, start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, just sighing out the mouth. Bend the knees and roll to your right side. And use your left hand to press you up to a seated position. If you'd like to take your journal for a moment, you're welcome to do that and write some thoughts down. Just remember to take this practice off your mat into your life. I'll share a quote from Barbara Jordan to finish class. We must exchange the philosophy of excuse, that what I am is beyond my control, for the philosophy of responsibility. Thank you for practicing with me here on the Art of Yoga Project YouTube channel. Thank you for showing up. The light within me sees and honors the light within you. Namaste.